Wonderful. Well, welcome third graders of San Diego and welcome everyone from beyond San Diego. I'd like to introduce to you Elder Sam Brown. And Sam, please kick us off and share with us the Brown family Kumeyaay creation story.
Minyaway, Minyaway. In my language, that means hello, everybody. My name is Sam Brown. I am a Kumeyaay Indian from the Viejas Indian Reservation in San Diego County. I am 72 years old. When I was in the third grade, the world was a different place. It's kind of hard to imagine, but my house did not have electricity. And that's true of many houses in the backcountry. Back when I was a young boy, they didn't have electricity yet. My house also didn't have indoor plumbing. We had an outhouse. And people said, well, didn't you miss that? Well, we haven't had that for thousands of years. You got to remember, the Kumeyaay have been here for thousands of years. For thousands of years, we didn't have electricity. So we kind of was normal for us. Eventually, we got electricity. Eventually, we got indoor plumbing. Eventually, we got streets. When I was a kid, the road was a dirt road. That's the same true. A lot of San Diego, there were dirt roads. Everything has changed. The roads are now paved. Everything has changed. Everything is different than when I was a young man. Things have changed. And that's a part of our culture. Things always change, okay? Oh, I want to start off by teaching you some of my language. Actually, you already know these words and you've been using them, but you didn't know they were Kumeyaay words. And now you can know they're Kumeyaay words. Now, here's the first word I'm going to teach you is our word for fire. Fire is very important. Those of you who have been camping out know you need a fire to cook, a fire to see the lights. But our word for fire is kind of simple. Suppose you took your finger and stuck it in a fire. What would you say? You'd probably say, ow. So ow in our language means fire. See, you guys have been saying ow all the time. You didn't know that was a Kumeyaay word and it meant fire. The next word I'm going to teach you that you already know is the word for owl. What sound does an owl make? Well, an owl goes ahoo, ahoo, and that is the Kumeyaay word for owl. It's ahoo, okay? Now, here's another word, a Kumeyaay word you've all used all the time, but you didn't know it. And I like to ask people, what is the name of that mouse in Disneyland? Well, that mouse is Mickey. His name is Mickey Mouse. That's right, Mickey Mouse. And Mickey in my language means mouse, Mickey Mouse. And when you say Mickey Mouse, it's kind of funny to us because that means mouse, mouse. Mouse in Kumeyaay and mouse in English, Mickey Mouse. So you guys have been saying Mickey all the time, but you didn't know that was Kumeyaay. The last word I'm going to teach you is what is the Kumeyaay word for to cut? Like you're going to cut something with a pair of scissors, to cut. The Kumeyaay word for to cut is to cut. So when you guys say to cut, you're actually speaking my language. When you're going to go to cut something, that's my language. That's a good start with the Kumeyaay. So now I'm going to tell you a story that my grandfather told me. I asked my grandpa a long time ago, how did the world begin? So he told me the story of creation. I'm going to tell the story of creation to you. I'm going to tell it to you the way my grandfather told me. Now, as we go on, I'm going to explain some parts of the story. Those of you who knew about Aesop's fables know there's always a moral to the story. My grandma used to tell Aesop's fables all the time, and I liked them, and she would say the moral of the story is, and she would tell me the moral of the story. Okay, a long time ago, the Kumeyaay believed that the earth was just ocean. Actually, once you get further educated, you go on in school, your teachers will tell you at one time, some people believe the earth was just entirely ocean. Okay, so the earth was entirely ocean. And in the ocean was something called Shaupu-Haup. I said, Grandpa, I said, what's Shaupu-Haup mean? He said, Shaupu-Haup means something make fresh, everything new. So what Shaupu-Haup means is creation. Shaupu-Haup means creation. Okay, it means creation. And he said, Shaupu-Haup is actually two, but it's one. Shaupu-Haup is one, but there's two. And there's two people in Shaupu-Haup. There's a good guy and a bad guy. And that has to do with something you'll hear later on, as you study Chinese or yin yang or something, will go on. It's called the dual principle. It's called duality. Every one of us has good and bad in us. We're not all good, we're not all bad. We have some of one, some of the other. As life goes through, oh, we'll see who wins, but that means there's two parts to everybody. For instance, one of the sharper helps is actually two. One is blind and one can see. One is good and one is bad. So that's kind of how I think about it. There's two parts to everything, and there's two parts to everybody here. Other tribes have the same type of symbolism. One tribe had an interesting story I heard, and a grandfather was talking to his grandson. He said, "Grandson, there are two wolves inside of you. One wolf is good and one wolf is bad. And they're both fighting for control of you." And the boy says, "Grandpa, Grandpa, what wolf wins?" And the grandpa says, "The wolf that you feed." So Shalpahalt means two, but it's one. My grandpa said it's two, but it's one. It's one thing, but it's two. So as I go through the story, I'm going to talk like they're two different people, but they're actually one. I'll call one the good Shalpahalt, but one the bad Shalpahalt. So the whole world was ocean. And then the good Shalpahalt was underneath there, the ocean. He said, "I want to come out and see what's up on the top." And so the good Shalpahalt closed his eyes and he came out and there was nothing there. And the bad Shalpahalt was down in the water. He said, "Did you come out with your eyes open or your eyes closed?" Now the good Shalpahalt came out with his eyes closed. He told the bad Shalpahalt, "Oh, I came out with my eyes open." So the bad Shalpahalt came out with his eyes open and he was blinded. That's because evil is blind. Evil can't go anywhere by itself. Someone has to take it. Someone has to come up and say, "Oh, we got a good idea. We got a bad idea. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's do these bad things." Evil is blind and people have to lead it somewhere. It can't come somewhere by itself. So the good Shalpahalt looked around. There was nothing there. He said, "Oh, I'm going to make the sun." So he grabbed some mud. He threw it in the sky and made the sun. And he grabbed some mud, threw it in the sky, and he made the moon. Then he grabbed some mud and threw it in the sky, and all the stars appeared, all the stars. When you see the Milky Way, you can see where like you throw some mud across it. That's the Milky Way. He made the Milky Way. Then he wanted to make the land. So he reached underneath it and he grabbed some earth, he squeezed it, and he put it on the water and began to grow and grow and grow and grow. So the land began to grow and grow and grow and grow. And the Kumeyaay believed that the land is still changing. Everything changes. That's the part to remember about Kumeyaay. Everything is changing. If you look at a globe, you look at a map, your teacher will tell you that a long time ago, it looked different. The land is constantly changing. It wasn't the same as it is today. The land masses are always moving. It's always changing. And those volcanoes coming up, and volcanoes making new land, so the land is kind of always growing. So things always change. So the Kumeyaay believe that everything is always changing. Then the good Kumeyaay, he made some people. He made some people out of mud. He blew life in them. There are people all over the world. Now, at this time, the surface of the earth was like the moon or Mars. There was nothing there. It was totally blank, nothing there. Then the people began to appear. All over people began to appear. And the bad Shalpahalt began to tell the people bad things. And the good Shalpahalt said, you know something? I got to get rid of this bad guy. Somehow I got to get rid of this bad Shalpahalt. I got to do it. And so he said, but I can't start a fight because the good Shalpahalt can't start fights. So the good Shalpahalt and the bad Shalpahalt, they had some kind of dog, some kind of animal. And one of the dogs had smooth fur, the other dog had rough fur. And the good Shalpahalt's dog had rough fur, and the bad Shalpahalt's dog had smooth fur. And the bad Shalpahalt said, "Give me my dog, give me my dog." And so the good Shalpahalt gave him the other dog, the wrong dog. And the bad Shalpahalt touched it. He says, "Hey, this has rough fur. This is not my dog." And the good Shalpahalt, "Yes, that's your dog." "No, it's not my dog." So the bad Shalpahalt attacked the good Shalpahalt, and they began to fight. And you'll always hear about fights between good and evil. This is the big fight between good and evil, good and evil, good and evil. Well, how the good Shalpahalt won is he broke open the earth and he threw the bad Shalpahalt in the earth and he covered it up. And my grandpa said when the bad Shalpahalt wasn't dead, he doesn't die, but when he tries to escape, sometimes the earth will shake as he tries to escape. Okay, my grandpa said one odd thing that happened is the bad Shalpahalt wasn't totally buried. Somewhere in a cave, the bad Shalpahalt, his toe was sticking up. And that's where all diseases and sicknesses come. The wind comes and it blows it from the toe and it carries it around the earth. And that means when you fight good and evil, you kind of never fully win. There's always something left over, something kind of bad that you got to watch out for. That's what happened to bad sharp. There's still the good and evil fought, and good kind of won. There's always something to watch out for. And as people begin to grow, as a rule, I told you to make people there, people begin to change. They begin to grow. Some of them begin to grow antlers. Some of them begin to grow wings. Some begin to walk on all fours. They begin to change into all the animals we have today. They begin to all to change and change and change. And as they changed, the animals all had different abilities. There was a bird who sang beautiful, beautiful songs. He's a bird. He said, "Oh," and the people said, "Oh, bird, please sing us, please teach us those beautiful songs." And so the bird taught the people those songs, and we sing those songs to this day. They're called bird songs. And the bird was named Tukuk, and some people call them the Tukuk songs, but those are the songs. Also, the river taught songs. The river sang beautiful songs. You might, if you go to a river, you hear it babbling brook and stuff. It's kind of talking. Well, the river taught us songs too. They're called Lashaw songs, which means from the river. And so today we still sing those songs called Lashaw songs because they were taught to us by the river. That's why water is so important. Water can teach you things. So the people learn those songs, they're very, very happy. I told you as time went on, people began to change. Everyone's happy to change. The guy who was getting horns was really happy. The guy who grew wings was really happy. He was happy to change. But there was a lady, her name was Frog, Huntuk, that means frog in our language. And Huntuk was looked like a person, and she had very beautiful, she's so proud. "Oh, look, my beautiful person," because the bad shop up talked to her. "Oh, you're the most beautiful girl in the world, always beautiful." Oh, she thought she was just so beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But she began to change into a frog. Frogs have those bumps on their backs. Oh, she began to get the bumps there, but she felt terrible because she was changing. Now, when you change, you got to be happy. We're all going to change. When you grow up, you might become doctors, might become lawyers, might become teachers, might become archaeologists, you might become something. You should be happy. When you change, you got to be happy with what you're doing. Sometimes you hear adults don't like their job or something, but you should always like your job. You should always be happy with what you do. But Frog was not happy because she thought she would no longer be beautiful. "Oh, I'm going to be ugly." So she had real long hair, and she put her hair along her back so people couldn't see she would change into frog. And one day she was down by the river. She's washing her hair. When you wash your hair, you pull it forward. She's washing her hair. And the good Shelpahop walked by. This time they called him the big chief. He said, "Oh, look, everybody, my daughter." You have to call her, "Is that my daughter changing to frogs? Isn't that wonderful? Changing to frog. Oh my gosh, isn't that wonderful?" She changed into a frog. But the frog got really, really mad because she didn't want nobody to know she was changing to a frog. She wasn't happy to change into a frog. "Oh, I got to do something. I got to kill the big chief. I got to get rid of him somehow." But the big chief has a lot of magic because he's like the Shelpahop type of person. So the good frog, the bad frog president, Frog said something kind of funny. She said, "Oh, I know what to do." Every morning the Shelpahop, the good Shelpahop, the big chief would go out to the ocean. But once the ocean, there's this huge, huge noise, and the big chief said, "Oh, that's me. That noise is me. That makes me the power. The noise is me." And what happened was Frog used a little magic she had, because back then there was a lot of magic. And she stopped the noise. So when the good Shelpahop went out to the ocean, there was no noise. "Oh, there's no noise." And I didn't know what that meant until many, many years later. In fact, not too long ago. I'm 72 now. But a long time, a guy told me, "Oh, what happened is somebody explained it. This is what it means." See, the big chief thought that noise was him, that big noise. That's not him. You're you. That's what you are. Everybody's you. Some people think, "Oh, my job. I'm my job." No, 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 no. I'm that car over there. I'm my money. They think think that something out there is them, but it's not them. Everyone's right here. You look at your, "Oh, there I am. I'm right here." You're not something out there. You're not something way over there. You're yourself. You can't think, "Oh, if I lose my job and the whole world's going to end. If this happens, if my girlfriend leaves me, the whole world ends." You can't do that. You're yourself. You're complete in yourself. You don't need all that other stuff. And that's what he told me. That's what that big roar meant. What happened is there's no big roar. So the chief got sick, and he got sick, and he got sicker, and he's sicker, and he's sicker. Oh my gosh, because the roar he thought that roar was him, but it's not. He's himself, but he didn't know it. That's a lesson for all of us. So I learned from that story that you're not something, you're yourself. You're not something out there. You're yourself. You're not the car. You're not the money. You're not the house. You're you. You have to complete in you. But the big chief didn't say, got sicker. Actually, the big chief got sicker and sicker and sicker. And he gathered all the people together. He said, oh, I'm sick and I'm going to die. And people said, what's die mean? At that time, no one had ever died before. He said, oh, the big chief, what happens? He says, the big chief says, everyone has to die and then they go to a better place, another place. If you didn't die, he said, there'd be so many people, you'd be stacked on top of each other. And how are you going to live if you're stacked on top of each other? So we all have to die. I'm going to be the first person to die. Oh my gosh, the people said, what shall we do? What shall we do? The chief says, when I die, I want you to do this for me. I want you to cremate my body. And I want you to sing bird songs. And what's cremation mean? Well, a long time ago, the Kumeyaay always burned their dead. When someone died, they burned their body. So that's what cremation means. They would stack wood up and they would put the body on top of the wood and stack more wood up. They'd catch on fire and they'd burn the wood. And cremation, actually today, some people are still cremated. Once in a while, someone wants to be buried in the old way and they'll burn his body. I've been to cremations before, but you can't stay there to watch the body burn. Everybody's got to leave. Some people have to stay there, of course, to do the fire, to watch, keep the wood going and keep the fire going. The people that stay there said, you know, the last thing to burn is the heart. The very, very last thing to burn is the heart. Now, the heart to the Kumeyaay is something very, very important. The heart to the Kumeyaay is where your memory is, where your spirit is, where your personality is. It's in your heart. It's actually not in your brain. It's in your heart. And the Kumeyaay, I believe, is very, very important. For instance, our word for forget is ye chapit, which means my heart is closed because the memory's in your heart and it can't come out. The Kumeyaay weren't the only people to think that way. You probably heard the Egyptian. The Egyptians believed the same thing. The heart was very, very important. They made mummies. Oh my gosh, they take the heart out and they preserve it in a jar and put oils in so to preserve it. Oh, they kept the heart. One thing funny about the Egyptians, they didn't know what the brain was for. They had no idea what the brain was for. So they would remove the brain from the mummy and throw it away. Oh, this is no good. This is so okay, you know. So we don't need this. No one knows what this is for. Throw it away. The heart was very important. So the Kumeyaay believe the heart was very, very important to them. And so the heart is where everything is at. Okay, that's important in the story. Okay. So what happens is back then the Kumeyaay didn't know how to make fire. The only way they get fire is if they went out and found it somewhere, like a lightning strike, or there's a big fire over there. They're going to send people up together, bring fire back, bring hot coals back, they make fire. At this time, there's a bad guy there. This bad guy, he heard a lot from the bad Chaparral. And this was Coyote. We call it Coyote. Coyote in many Indian stories, many Indian tribes, is kind of a trickster kind of guy, kind of a bad guy. Coyote is the kind of guy that wants all the honor, but doesn't want to earn it. He wants people to respect him, but he doesn't want to earn it. That's important to remember. You always got to earn respect. You got to go out and you do good deeds and help people out and do good things. That's how you get respect. But that Coyote wants it, just gets to get it for him. He just wants it all to himself. He doesn't want to do anything for it. He said, oh, look, the big chief is gone. They're going to need another big chief. I want to be the big chief. How can I be the big chief? So the Coyote didn't do any good, didn't help anybody. He didn't do anything good, but he wanted to be the big chief. He said, oh, I know. If I eat the body of the big chief, then I'll be the big chief. Everyone will see me eat the body, then they'll make me the big chief. So that's how I'll be the big chief. Now, the people knew Coyote was bad. They didn't know who he was up. They knew he was bad. So we got to get rid of the Coyote. Coyote's going to start something. He's going to do something bad when we burn the body. Let's send him away somewhere. Let's get rid of Coyote somehow. They said, oh, Coyote, 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 come here. Coyote said, go find fire so we can burn the body. Go to the north where everything's white and try to find fire. So the Coyote went to find, couldn't find it, came back. Okay, Coyote, try to go to the Western Ocean. Maybe you can find it that way. Coyote went to the Western Ocean. He couldn't find it. Oh, Coyote, go south. Maybe you can find it south. Coyote went south, came back, couldn't find the fire. Now the Kumeyaay knew there was an Eastern Ocean. It was way, way far away. They knew if the Coyote went to the Eastern Ocean, he'd be gone a long time and they could do this ceremony and they could burn the body. So they said, Coyote, Coyote, go to the Eastern Ocean to find the fire. So Coyote left, went to the Eastern Ocean. Now, there was a guy there, his name was Fly. He was turning into a fly. The flies go like this. So Fly got a stick, he went like this, And he started a fire. The fly knew how to start fire. Oh, they started a fire. Good. So when they started the fire, they said, oh, okay, let's go ahead and let's try and let's go ahead and start burning the body. So they burned the body. They start singing the bird song, start burning the body. And Coyote was going far, far. He was going to the Eastern Ocean, way, way over there. But the Coyote glanced back and he saw the smoke. He said, oh, they started without me. They're trying to fool me. I got to get back. I got to get back. So Coyote kept running back, running back, running back, running back. And the guards say, Coyote's coming. Coyote's coming. Oh, what can we do? They said, oh, someone said, let's all get in a circle. We'll circle the cremation, the body, and the cremation, the fire, will circle it, and Coyote can't get in. So Coyote came back. I gotta get in, I gotta get in. He ran round and round and round and round. He couldn't, all the people were standing there, running, he couldn't get in, he's running around, all the people were standing in a circle. But what happened was, there was one guy, his name was Mahua. Mahua in my language means badger. You know, badgers are kind of tiny. So he was already getting tiny. So Coyote jumped over the badger and now at this time, all that was left was the heart. The entire body was burnt, but all that was left was the heart. So Coyote went and he grabbed the heart in his mouth and he screamed, ah! And that's why to this day, Coyote, you hear Coyote screaming, woo, 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 out because they got burnt. First, Coyote got burnt and he burned his mouth and he screamed, ah, like that. That's why you can hear Coyote scream to this day. It reminds you of the creation, the fact that Coyote stole the heart. So Coyote stole the heart and he ran off. One funny thing that happened to Coyote, now Coyote is actually a wolf. He's a prairie wolf, he's a wolf. If you look at a coyote's mouth and a wolf's mouth, for that, they're black. They're black inside their mouths. Now, dogs have pink mouths. Dogs have pink mouths. It's kind of interesting. If you have a dog at home, when you get home, look in your dog's mouth and see if there's black in your dog's mouth. If there's black in your dog's mouth, your dog is part wolf. Try that when you get home. So Coyote's mouth got black. He ran out. All the people chased him. And to this day, people are like searching for their heart. You always hear people looking for things all the time. That's kind of what it's about. People are always searching for something, you know. But that's what happened. The Coyote got away with the heart and ran up the mountain and ran. Now, after the ceremony was over, this is kind of funny that kind of happened. People fully changed. They fully changed into animals. My grandpa said plants. They also changed into some rocks. They fully changed and they all left. Now, at that time, people could talk to each other. Now that they've all left and they fully changed, we can't talk to each other anymore. But you can kind of do it. If you got, like, if you go camping somewhere, you feel really different. Oh, you're camping. Oh, look at the trees and the mountains, and you feel kind of different because they're talking to you. Or you go to the ocean. You go to the ocean, the waves are. Oh, you feel so good. Oh my God, look at, because the ocean, the water is talking to you. Now, this means that everything out there you see behind me, trees and mountains, that's all part of you. Those were your relations. You got to respect all the things around you. You got to respect the mountains and the plants and the trees and the animals. An example of this is when I was a kid, I hunted rabbits. When I was a kid, all the Indians liked rabbits. Like to hunt rabbits, like to eat them, so they hunted rabbits. But you couldn't hunt rabbits all year long. You could only hunt rabbits for 3 months out of the year, because the rabbits need a chance to survive, to get by, to make more rabbits to live and to balance it. So you couldn't kill all the rabbits all the time. Otherwise, there'd be no more rabbits and you're going to starve. Likewise, when you gather plants, you can't gather too many plants. Oh, I'm going to gather all these plants, I'm going to eat all these plants up. You can't do that, because next year, if you gather all the plants, next year, there won't be any more plants, and how are you going to survive? One thing you heard about acorns, you got to go gather acorns, but you can't take the branch of the acorn tree and shake it and have the acorns fall down. No. You got to gather the acorn the tree gave you, the ones that are on the ground. That's how you respect the tree. If you gather all the acorns, of course, there'll be no more acorn trees. They won't grow anymore. You got to respect everything around you. You got to keep everything in your mind. Oh, look at all these are my relatives at one time. I got to respect all the animals, you know. And when Indians hunt, when they kill an animal, they remember, oh, this animal gave his life for me so I could live. You know, I'm going to remember this. I'm going to respect this animal. So you got to respect the entire world around you. Just respect the water, respect everything around you. That's how you know how things are. You got to respect everything around you. And that's what you grew up when I was a little boy. You got to remember these things. Oh, you know, you got the birds, you got to respect the birds. You know, you look around, oh, there's the birds over there. And you just can't go and kill birds for no reason. You just can't do things for no reason. You got to keep everything in harmony and balance. And that's what the world is like today. You got to always watch out. Always think about that when you go back. Now, when Chapel died, what happened was a whirlwind came by. A whirlwind came by and the ashes went up in the whirlwind like that. And my grandma told me that if you ever see a whirlwind, you got to remember Chapel and the creation and all the stories and things you learned from the creation story. Like I said, my grandma used to tell me, so we didn't have electricity, we didn't have TV, we didn't have radio, so he told lots and lots of stories. And that's the story of Chapel. Okay, that concludes the story of Chapel. Now, does anybody have any questions? Any questions come in?
Thank you so much for that, Elder Sam. That was so interesting and informative. I'm sure everybody loved hearing about that. We do have a couple of questions. If anybody has any other questions, please let us know. We've got 15 more minutes, and we'd like to use the time really well to ask Elder Sam as many questions as we can. So the first question that came through from Heather is, have you ever hunted with traditional tools? If so, what did you use and how did you make your tools?
My grandpa and my dad were the last guys to hunt with traditional tools. My grandpa made boomerangs. We hunted with boomerangs like Australians do. He made boomerangs, we hunted with boomerangs. And my dad made bows and arrows. He made bows and arrows out of normal stuff. He told me how to make them. But I myself, my son one time threw a stick and hit a rabbit one time. That was just an accident, you know. But no, I haven't hunted with any traditional things like, because I buy my bows in the store, you know, like everybody else. When I was a kid, we used to make our bows and arrows, and later we found out, hey, you could buy a bow in the store and buy the arrows in the store, you know. So we used to make, when I was a kid, we all made bows. We'd go down and we'd grab willows, we'd bend the willows, you know, we'd tie a string on it, and we'd go out and get sagebrush arrows, we called them. We were like practice arrows. So back then we did go around with practice arrows, but we were just practicing. We actually didn't hunt with those. We did practice with them though. So my grandpa and my dad were the last guys to actually hunt with traditional implements.
Great, thank you. Okay, thanks everybody. You guys are asking more questions. This is great. We've got Celine asks, how long have Kumeyaay people been here?
I asked my grandpa that question. He says, we have been here since creation. It's a creation story. And it's kind of interesting. Some people say we've been here in San Diego for about 30,000 years, which is real interesting because it's kind of hard even for me to think about, but generation after generation after generation lived here. And that's how they thought it. They think of something, one person will think of something and investigate it. They'll pass on, somebody else will investigate it. So the Kumeyaay will investigate things for thousands and thousands of years, investigate something. So sometimes when we talk about things that exist out there, you know, animals and creatures and things, we've been thinking about things for thousands of years, many thousands of years. So the Kumeyaay have been here for many thousands of years. We think of things, we've been in, it's hard to believe, you know. I know some of you guys have been in San Diego and you live in your house for a few years, maybe your grandparents lived here, but my grandparents and my grandparents have lived here. My grandpa said we've been here forever here in San Diego. And it's hard to believe how long we've been here, but we've been continuously. No, nobody came and conquered us. We didn't change our culture. We didn't change our language. The same language, the same culture for many thousands of years.
Wonderful, thank you. I've got another student question. What happened to the heart of Shapaha? I don't think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but.
I asked that question to some older guys, and they said, well, some stories said that people got it and got it back, and other stories say that they Coyote ran away with it. So I also want to know what happened to it. And I really don't know because I heard both stories, so I'm not too sure what happened to it.
Okay, we've got another one here. Did you ever hear about the big chief's blood making the dirt red when Coyote took the heart?
Yeah, this is not my grandpa's story, but I heard other people tell stories. Now, there are many versions of this creation story. Okay, many different versions of it. And yeah, my grandpa kind of told me the guy was walking, but and his feet got bloody because he walked too much, and that's what made kind of you. I heard that story before for other versions of the story, where that's how you made clay. Clay is kind of interesting thing to make. It's kind of red. But my grandpa knew a lot of things. He said you could actually make bowls or cups from any kind of soil, but you have to grind it into fine powder. I don't know if that's true or not, but most people just use clay. One funny thing happened in my reservation is they made a clay pot, and of course back then they had to sell the clay pots to get by. You had to make some money, and somebody said, "Hey, that clay pot has gold in it," and the Indians took it back because the Indians knew that gold always caused trouble. So they took the clay pot back and they broke it up and they buried it. So there's always little things like that, you know. Oh my gosh, there's gold down in my old reservation, but that's just a story. You know, my grandpa told me that story too. But yeah, I've heard the kind of story where clay comes from. I've heard that. That's not my grandpa's story, but I did hear that from somebody else. That's correct.
Great, thank you. And then we've got, I'm not sure if you already answered this, but what happened to the coyote?
Coyote comes into many of our stories, and he always teaches good lessons. Coyote survived, and his ancestors came out, and there's more and more coyotes are related to that coyote from the beginning. But yeah, coyote always a good thing. It always teaches us real interesting stories. The coyote is the bad guy kind of. The coyote comes and he's the bad guy. He always wants to trick everybody, give them things. He wants to trick people to give them food, to trick people to give them clothing. He doesn't want to earn it. He doesn't want to hunt. He doesn't want to make his own clothing. He's kind of the bad guy, and he's good character because it's the character you don't want to be like the coyote. And once in a while, if somebody doesn't like somebody else, they'll call my coyote. Oh, you're a hatapa. That means coyote in our language. That means you're a bad guy. That's what it means. So the coyote is still there. He still teaches us good lessons in the stories. Thank you.
Great, good questions. Thank you, Elder Sam. Okay, let's go on here. We've got a student question. What was the last animal humans transformed into before staying human forever?
That we don't know. That I didn't ask my grandpa that. Maybe I should have asked him. Sometimes when people tell stories, you kind of don't want to. How did this happen? How that happened? How did what happened here? What happened? So I'm not really sure. Well, that's a good question. What was I never even thought about that. What was the last person that got transformed? I kind of thought it all happened at once. Everybody just changed all at once, and they went out and they changed into all these various forms of all the various animals. And remember, that's what makes us all related, because we're all changed. We're all at one time we were all the same. You probably heard about, eventually you'll hear about something called evolution, where things change from time to time to time. But in our evolution, you know, we're all related. Yeah, things do change after time, but we're all related, we're all connected. At one time, we're just all together. That's the difference between our evolution and the one you learned in class. We think at one time we're all the same, we all communicate, we're all together, and then we change as time went on. So we did know about evolution, we did know about changes and things, but again, one important thing, everything changes.
Very interesting, yes. We've got a third grade student here from Natalie. How did your ancestors trade? What did they trade?
Yeah, trading is very interesting. There's a lot of, believe it or not, a lot of the freeways you guys go on, Freeway 8, Freeway 5, and you run around the freeways, those follow all Kumeyaay trails. You used to trade for many tribes, many places. You could, in fact, in some of the Kumeyaay villages, they found jade, Aztec jade in the villages, you know, and they also found, believe it or not, they found Chinese silk in the village, you know. So the Kumeyaay did trade over many things. What did we trade? The Kumeyaay were the only tribe in California that made pottery. So we trade potteries with those tribes in the north that didn't know, they just made baskets, but we made pottery. No one else in California made pottery but us. That's very valuable. We traded it. One thing we didn't have down here where I live, we didn't have flint to make our arrows. We had to trade to get flint. There are trading trails everywhere they go around the trading. There's all kinds of trails you go. All the time people going out trading things, bartering things, bringing things back. So you know, it's not like you're all by yourself. Like you say Survivor, you know, you see sometimes there's Survivor. The people are all by them. No, you always go out and you find things. Other people have things. You trade things here and there. Trade good baskets. Trade arrows. Trade all kinds of things you can trade. All kinds of goods you trade. Most of the stuff Kumeyaay's had in their place were traded from somewhere else. They traded from somewhere else. Yeah. So trading did help a lot. And that's how we got different foodstuffs and things. Just constant trading, constant motion, constant people going out and trading things and bartering to have things. Yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great question, Natalie. Okay, let's see if we can get to a few more here in the next 5 minutes. This is a good one. Why did gold cause trouble? I assume they're maybe talking about the California gold rush.
Well, you could talk to your teacher about that. Before what they call the California gold rush, California was mostly all Indians. The entire state was mostly Indians. when the gold rush came in, too many people came. Then so they started taking Indian land and just moving the Indians away, and your teachers can tell you all about the gold rush, but it did push all the Kumeyaay away into the mountains. My grandpa used to make a joke. He said, "Oh, they pushed us into the rocks and up way in the brush somewhere, and we live like a rat." My grandpa said, "Oh, we don't have any tails, but we live like a rat." So gold always caused trouble for people. We knew that. Every time there's gold, the other people would move in and chase the Kumeyaay away. The Kumeyaay didn't know what to do with gold anyway. So the Kumeyaay knew that gold always caused trouble for people. And they knew that a long time ago, many Kumeyaay were harmed because of the gold. They were forced to move and forced to relocate somewhere to a poorer place to live. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
great. Thank you. We've also got, I think we answered the question on tools and weapons. We've got, this is a good one. What is your favorite animal and why?
My favorite animal is actually a dog. Now, dogs on the reservation are different. Dogs on the reservation are to protect your family, but to keep the coyotes away, the mountain lions away, the bobcats away. They got to be out there guarding you. And when you're a kid, it was really nice to take a dog with you because something wasn't going to attack you because you had a dog. The dog was going to defend you. So the dog was very important to the Kumeyaay. And the Kumeyaay dogs were like working dogs. They weren't just pets. Oh, you got a pretty dog. Let's pet the dog, put some clothes on. The Kumeyaay, the dogs to this day have to do work to protect the family, keep the coyotes away. That's why the dog is my favorite animal. Actually, that just said dog. My dad had a funny, my word for dog is hut. My dad would say, hut, chuck, chuck. I didn't understand what that meant. Hut, chuck, chuck means to frown. So I don't know why he thought dogs would frown, be sad face, but my dad thought dogs were sad face, so he'd call them hut, chuck, chuck. I thought it was funny. Did you talk about dog, my favorite animal dog? That was funny thing. My dad thought that dogs were always frowning and they're always so sad looking. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great answer. Okay, we've got time for maybe one more here. Let's go back to the trading question when you mentioned the pottery. We've got a question about what kind of pottery did they make?
Pottery was kind of interesting. I've made pottery before, so I know how to do it. You ground it up and you fire it and you put the wood and you fire it up. They made all kinds of different potteries. Usually they were just like plates or bowls, but as time changed, they found they could trade it. And they began to get more and more fancy. They would paint them and stuff. So they trade them to non-Indians and get like more money for it or more trade for it. So pottery changed after a while. The way you made it change after a while. But pottery is a really interesting thing. If you take pottery, you grind it into real fine powder, and you roll it up like this in little coils, and you get a paddle, and you paddle to make it the shape it is. We didn't use a spinning thing like you see in movies where you shape it with your hands like this. We didn't do that. We used paddles. And the people to this day do make pottery. And in fact, I've got a piece of pottery outside my door. Somebody gifted me a pottery, and I left it outside my front door, like to welcome people with a pottery. Because pottery is kind of a neat thing. We're the only ones who made pottery in California. And we were very, very good at it. Sometimes the pottery is really, really thin. It's really, really thin. Which once one person who examined pottery said it's almost porcelain, which is a real fancy kind of pottery. It was getting pretty close to porcelain, because Indians things always change, always trying to do things better. They always try to do things better, how to hunt better, how to gather plants, medicinal plants. They always thought about how to do better things. They're always trying to think how to make better pottery. They always experimented always how to make better and better pottery. The pottery made was really, really good back then. The walls are really, really thin. You can put water in it. It's really kind of nice to have. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. I think we've got time for one more. Kim, do we have time for one more question? All right. This is kind of an interesting one. Did Kumeyaay use anything for money?
No, we call money is called orop. So we have a word for it, but I don't know where that word came from. We just trade. When you could trade to somebody else. Oh, I got this, you got that. I got this big, nice bow and arrow. Let's trade for this big bow, this nice bow and arrow. But some tribes had things like seashells or something that would be like currency. Or they'd weave some kind of fancy belt, and that would be like currency. We just traded. I'll trade you this for that. Trade you this for that. Trade you this for that. Do this. We'll go way over there to this other tribe over there. They have flint, and we have pottery. Let's trade flint for pottery. Or that tribe has good corn. Let's go and trade for corn. we'll take something over, maybe we'll take some acorn mush over there and trade for the corn. But no, we didn't have what you call money, what you think about as money. We never had that before. Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that ends our